Hey, what's up guys? My name is Six. Welcome to another video. Today I want to talk to you about the 10 things I wish I knew when I first started playing DayZ Standalone. Keep in mind during this video that with modding, this list could go a couple very different ways, but this particular list pertains to the type of servers that I personally like to play on, which are either like a vanilla server or servers that have some slight modifications just to add a little bit more content to the game. These type of servers I feel kind of give that most authentic DayZ experience, which is how the game I feel like was intended to feel like when it was first released, and also the game that I fell in love with personally. That being said, I have no problem with the servers that have a ton of mods on them: traders, sports cars, free-for-all death matches, crazy futuristic guns, stuff like that. I think those servers are amazing, but this list doesn't really apply too much to those type of servers. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's get into my top 10. Starting off at number 10, try to learn the mechanics of your weapons. Practice with the recoil, the reloading, the bullet drop, and how to properly use the sights on that type of weapon. There's a ton of different sights, there's a ton of different weapons, there's a lot of different types of reload animations and different things like that. So it's really important to learn these things ahead of time and practice with these things before you get into a situation where you have to use the gun, somebody's shooting you, it's kind of a panic situation, your heart's racing, especially as a new player. You know, these moments are gonna be pretty intense. That's one of the things that's so great about DayZ is these firefights are so intense. So you want to have that muscle memory ahead of time. So practice this on zombies, practice it just shooting trees, whatever it might be. This just gives you a good chance to really learn the recoil and how to use those weapons. That way, you know, when you are put into a situation where you're in a firefight, you'll do so much better in that type of firefight. I think we've all been in that situation when we first started playing, where we've got like an AKM in our hands. It's the first time we've ever shot it, and we're just like, this recoil is insane. So make sure you guys are learning the mechanics of your weapons and the different ins and outs. That way you feel more comfortable in those firefight situations. All right, next up at number 9, learn where the wells are in the most common towns that you come across in DayZ. So obviously, figure out where these spawn points are on the servers that you're playing on. You know, along the coastline, things like that. Figure out where, you know, in Cherno, the common well spots are. Figure out in Prig where the common well spots are. Just the different town well areas, because on these types of servers, it's really, really important to keep your food and your water levels up, especially if you're getting hit by zombies, your blood levels are getting low. You want to keep those levels as high as possible because you never know when the next time you're going to need some water is. You might get caught, you know, let's say you're starting to adventure up north. There might not be a lot of wells, so you want to make sure you're constantly topping that off. And the towns that you're going through, you want to be able to beeline it straight for those wells, you know, when you need to, because who knows, you might be red thirsty and you might need to get there quick. So, but if you know where these wells are, it's really, really, really important for survival. Next up at number 8 is something that a lot of people will probably have some sort of an opinion about, but in my opinion, I think in the beginning, you should be friendly and learn how to interact with other players. I think this is so important, and I'll elaborate on this. So what I mean by be friendly is not the rest of your DayZ experience. You should never kill on sight. You should never do any of that type of stuff or act like a bandit or anything like that. I have nothing against that type of playstyle, but I think in the beginning, I think it's really, really important to learn how to interact with other players. People in DayZ don't interact like every other game, so I think it's really important to learn how to communicate with people in DayZ, because people in DayZ are really hesitant. Certain things can kind of tip them off and make you seem a little bit sketchy, probably make them maybe befriend you and then maybe later shoot you in the back, or, you know, maybe they'll feel comfortable around you and you'll go on some crazy adventure and have a great time, or, you know, maybe they'll just kill you on sight if you kind of seem a little bit off. People in DayZ are really, really careful in the game, and rightfully so. Once you get a little bit more experience in the game, you'll learn quickly that you can't really trust anyone, especially if you're alone. But in the beginning, I think it's really important. You're gonna die, of course. Maybe 9 times out of 10, you're gonna get killed by a player that you try to make friends with or you try to trust or something like that. That's okay. But 1 out of those 10 times, you might meet someone really cool and you might go on, you know, a little adventure or whatever have you. But I think it's really important to be friendly, learn how to interact with other players, and kind of just learn and grow from that. Next up at number 7 is learn how to hunt and cook. So this personally was something that I didn't do very much of when I first started playing DayZ. I kind of just wanted to spawn in, meet some other players, get some guns, get into some PvP fights, have some laughs, stuff like that. I didn't really think about, you know, actual survival. And if you want to progress up to the north and up to more areas and get more engulfed into the game and into, you know, the various aspects of the game beyond the coast, you're gonna really need to learn how to hunt and cook in certain situations. There's just certain situations where, you know, you can't find food, you can't find water. You know, maybe the next town that you know there's a well in is pretty far away. Your food levels are getting pretty low. Maybe you hear an animal and you want to go hunt that animal down. It's really, really important to learn how to A, hunt those animals, and B, cook the food, make a fire. If you don't have matches, if you don't have an axe to chop down and get logs, how am I going to make a larger fire that's going to last? Things like that. So learning how to hunt and learning how to cook your food is really, really important for survival, especially, you know, obviously with the servers that I'm talking about that have a little bit more of a hardcore survival aspect to them. So that's really, really important to learn how to hunt and cook. So make sure you guys are doing that as a beginner DayZ player. All right, number 6 has to do with navigating throughout the map. So I would always recommend, I talk about this in my live stream all the time, if you're a new player and you're playing on one of these particular servers that you can't just press M and it opens up a map for you. Open up a map, a DayZ map on your second monitor, or if you don't have a second monitor, on your phone, or, you know, on some servers you can find an in-game map that you can open up and look at, or, you know, a map that's on one of those poster boards. That helps as well. So make sure you guys are utilizing that. But a part of DayZ is getting lost. I mean, I feel like it took me 100 hours just to partially learn the map. And that's really, really hard. And that seems like an uphill battle. But I think it's really, really important to get lost and really, because you'll laugh about it and you'll talk about it many hours from now, that you remember those days and how awesome it was. You'll actually kind of miss it, just being lost in the game and finding new parts of the map for the first time and stuff like that. So, but to make it a little bit easier, make sure you guys open up a map on your second monitor or your phone. I think that'll help your experience and help you be from getting, you know, frustrated, and that'll also help you meeting up with friends. If you have a friend, you're gonna like, hey, I'm in this town called Zelenogorsk or something like that, and you're like, I have no idea how to get there. Open up a map. That'll kind of help you a little bit. And so that's definitely a feature as a new player I would recommend for navigating throughout the huge map that it is. All right, next up at number 5, I would recommend finding at least 2 community servers that you enjoy the mods on at first, and then branch out from there. So 2 community servers that you really enjoy the kind of the experience on. The type of players you've been running into seem like the type of players you would like to have on a DayZ server. Why I say 2 is you never know if one of them is going to have a low population at a certain time of day, or, you know, it's good to find a server maybe that is pretty populated during the day, and then a server that's pretty populated at night in whatever time zone that you're in, and then really play on those servers, get gear on those servers, maybe even build a base on those servers, whatever it might be. But you know, I recommend playing on some servers that are either vanilla or have like a little bit of modding, like I mentioned before, just to kind of add content to the game. So, you know, really just get engulfed into those servers, enjoy those servers, learn where things are on those servers, where common spawns are, and things like that, and then yeah, enjoy your time on those servers, and then branch out from there. That's something I'd recommend to new players. All right, number 4 is a big one. This is a big one for a lot of people in enjoying DayZ as a game. DayZ is a great game to play with friends. So number 4 is find people to play with. Meet people on Twitch, in DayZ, or on forums to group up with. I remember when I first started playing DayZ, I had nobody to play with. I kept getting shot on sight. I didn't know where anything was. Nobody wanted to group up with me. So I remember I got into the DayZ forums and started to talk to people and things like that. Usually I got turned down because they were like, hey dude, you got 10 hours in this game. But anyways, it's really important to meet people. You guys have this great resource, Twitch. You know, Twitch is a great place to kind of become involved in a community of, you know, people who live stream. You can meet other people in there. Usually DayZ streamers or people who stream survival games have a Discord section that's like devoted to like DayZ or other games, you know, where you can meet up with other people and play in the Discord and things like that. So that's really important. These people will also watch your back. You know, maybe also they might have a little bit more experience in the game. They can give you tips on something that you didn't know about that's really hard to find on your own, and vice versa. You know, maybe you guys have similar hours. You can give them a little bit of advice and they can give you a little bit of advice, but it makes DayZ a much more enjoyable experience, in my opinion, when you're playing with friends and enjoying it with friends. You know, you can talk about those crazy moments or those funny moments or, you know, whatever it is, the moments where you fail, you can go back and laugh about it and talk to each other like you experience it together. It's a good time. I would definitely recommend playing Lone Wolf as well, because it's a different experience. And, you know, it's always super, super intense when you're running into a group of players that wants to kill you and you're by yourself and you have to navigate that. And, you know, maybe you end up killing a couple of them or whatever it is. That's a crazy experience too. But I would definitely recommend making sure you find a good group of players to play with. Some of my longest mods on my channel, some of my best friends in DayZ are people that I randomly met in game. And some of my greatest experiences are when I was friendly to random people in the game. We ended up kind of trusting each other over time, and then we went on a long adventure and then had some crazy whatever happened, and it was just a great story. So a lot of my YouTube videos are about that. So highly recommend meeting other people to play DayZ with. So definitely do that if you are a new player. All right, next up at number 3, I would recommend finding your 2 favorite loot runs and then branching out from there after you've become really comfortable with those loot runs. So this is gonna help if you have a, you know, maybe a loot run that's on the east side of the map and a loot run that's maybe on the coast on the southern part of the map. So let's say you spawn near Cherno, you want to go a certain direction. You always have some good experience with these types of loot runs, maybe a loot run that makes you go eventually to the Northwest Airfield, whatever it might be. But make sure you have at least 2 loot runs that you really, really feel comfortable with and you feel like they give you a good payoff for food and water and guns and things like that, and use those and use them for a while until you feel really comfortable on how to you know, navigate those loot runs, and then start to branch out from there. That's something that's huge. If you're trying to learn all these different loot runs and all these different good places for loot and all that kind of stuff, you're just gonna it's just gonna take you so much longer to really learn those runs. So if you learn 2 in the beginning, you're gonna have a really good time and you're gonna have a guaranteed kind of way to get some decent loot on these particular servers. Obviously, every server is different. If you're playing on a heavily modded server that has traders and things like that, it's gonna be a little bit different, but the type of servers that I'm talking about, there's gonna be particular loot runs that are gonna pay off really, really good for you. So become comfortable with those, and I think that'll make you feel, you won't feel so much like, man, I can't find loot anywhere, because you've found a couple good loot runs and then you can just use those, and it'll make it definitely more enjoyable for you, I think. All right, now at number 2 is something I know you have all probably heard about, and it's something that gets talked about a lot, which is don't fall in love with your gear. This is something that every new DayZ player had to experience and had to get through the hard way on their own. I know I did. I had plenty of times where I was devastated after having such great gear and then maybe dying in a way that wasn't, you know, maybe I made a small mistake or, you know, whatever it was, died to like one of the older glitches or something like that. But it's so devastating as a new player when you've been looting for such a long time and you love the kit that you have, to lose it all in a split second, because we all know that can happen in DayZ. You just can't fall in love with your gear. The gear is a dime a dozen. You will find it again. Don't fall in love with your gear. Do not care. Dying is a part of the experience. Enjoy it. Dying is important. You need to die in DayZ. It's very, very important. So embrace that. Embrace being a fresh spawn, re-looting, you know, getting into a fight, dying to zombies, dying of hunger, whatever it is, because that just gives you an opportunity to be that Bambi again, maybe to learn your loot run a little bit better, or to learn a new loot run, or maybe you'll run into somebody on the coast that, you know, you become friends, whatever it is. Don't fall in love with your gear. Trust me, it's a dime a dozen. You'll get it again, and that'll only make your DayZ experience that much more fun. All right, now coming in at the number 1 spot, I was kind of thinking to myself, like, what would be like the one thing that would make as a new player, the DayZ experience as a whole, like that much more fun, that much more enjoyable, whatever happens, you know, whether you die or whether you survive or whether you make friends or whether you die of hunger, whatever it is, what would make the DayZ experience that much more fun? And this is actually more of a mindset thing that I personally do, and it seems like when I do it, I have a lot more fun in DayZ. So when you begin a new adventure with a new character, think about how you want that character's life to go. It's almost like when you're creating a character story on a roleplay server, but a little bit different. You just want to kind of have that post-apocalyptic mindset. You know, what do you want that character to be? Imagine yourself kind of in a post-apocalyptic world, like you're, you know, in The Walking Dead or something like that. And it makes those kind of quiet moments where you're just kind of journeying, kind of running through the forest or monotonously looting houses after house, just that much more meaningful, like they have some sort of a purpose. It's more a part of the experience. I feel like when I do this, I have so much more fun in the game. I don't need any music playing in the background. I can just kind of enjoy the ambience of the game, the loot, the survival experience, fighting zombies. Even if I don't see another player for 4, 5, 6 hours, I'm still enjoying just surviving, being in a post-apocalyptic world. I mean, this is a big reason why I started playing DayZ is I enjoyed the lore of the game and just the feel of the game. So if you have that mindset going into your character's life, your character's life will have more meaning to it, and I think genuinely you will enjoy the game a lot more. So granted, guys, these things could be shifted, you know, maybe the number 1 could be number 3, you know, number 6 could be number 8, whatever it might be. These are just the top 10 things that I personally feel are very, very important. These are things that I wish I knew when I was first starting out playing DayZ. So that wraps up my list of the 10 things I wish I knew when I first started playing DayZ. You know, these are obviously different from person to person, but these are some of the things that I personally wish I did from day one. And I hope the whole reason for making this video is I hope these things will help you guys that are new at this game to enjoy it and just have a more enjoyable experience, and then you'll become a part of the DayZ community. So in the end, you want to make sure you're just having a good time, interacting with other players as a new player, and really just immerse yourself in the DayZ community, because honestly, it's one of the best ones out there, and it's a big reason why after so many years, I still enjoy being a part of this community. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.